大家好，欢迎大家来到今日点击的特别节目《坦克人的故事》，我是石涛。昨天已经跟大家介绍过2期了。那在整个8964的过程当中，在25年前的故事当中，5月19号这天呢是个特别的日子。5月19号呢，宣布北京大戒严。这是当时的这个李鹏的杰作。而在整个故事当中呢，事情当中呢，以赵子阳出现在这个22路公共汽车，可能是22路，也可能是大4路，这是当时的在长安街上的公共汽车的说法。但是它是筒子车，就是3个门中间带一个转盘的那种。他进到那个车里面，说了那么一段话，那是非常划时代。那表明了中共上层的在面对今天整个全国普通人对人性的要求、对人的尊严的申诉的这种过程当中，中共上层出现了分裂。而中共上层出现了分裂呢，这个过程呢，我们就看到了共产党最邪恶的本质。我一直说，谁维护中共，谁所扮演的就是在今天的社会环境当中，他是魔鬼的化身，魔鬼的代言人，那是非常清晰的。519戒严令，大戒严令拿出来之后，造成了整个北京人都上街了，所有北京人都上街了。我一直跟大家说一概念，只有2个部门没去，我们当时叫北京市公安局的人没有出来，和邓小平的儿子邓朴方的康华公司没有出来，剩下所有的北京人都出来了。中央电视台的，包括军队，所有的人都出来了。法院的、检察院的、军队的都穿着自己的服装出来。中央电视台著名的主持人，咱别提是谁了，前面写着我是某某某，后面写着他们不让我讲真话，打着大标幅的。那同样也是这些人，在8964之后，那他又在恢复了他的工作，依然在中央电视台央视里面讲着自己的故事，讲着他的工作，挣着他的钱，就像我说是从来好像什么事情都没有发生。但是在整个过程，在我的印象中是太深刻了。从复兴门，从木樨地，所有的车辆都不要钱，工地拉渣土的车，你只要拦下来就可以奔天安门广场去。另外一侧，东边一直从通县到这边的车辆全都不要钱。北京地铁随便坐。那个时候，在所有的城市的人、北京人出来的背景之下，同样提到了军队的问题。所以有些人专门去负责通报消息，都是那前后那一段。改革开放呢，北京出现了这个开摩托车的，叫一脚踹死了快，这是我们当时的说法。而这批人在当时的北京城成为了传递消息的人。中央电视台、北京电视台的记者，这个播音员说什么？小偷霸偷。可北京城在无政府的状态下夜不闭户。可北京城所谓的无政府状态是没有共产党的控制，就可以夜不闭户，就可以做到那份上。人性的一面，可以把专门偷别人的人那不好的那一面都可以更改过来。那就是当时共产党失去控制之后，北京人表现出来的素养。
from student uprising to a worker uprising is what really scared the Chinese government. They felt that they could deal with the students. After all, students had been involved in uprising for many, many years. But where it became dangerous to the stability and to the survival of the Communist Party was when ordinary workers became involved.
After all, the Chinese Communist Party had originally used the workers' movement to gain power for itself. Now those in government were terrified that we'd take it back from them.
In fact, the government was paralyzed by infighting between those who advocated peaceful negotiation and hardliners who demanded a crackdown. On May the 19th, Zhao Ziyan, the reformist general secretary of the Communist Party, suddenly appeared in Tiananmen Square to appeal for compromise. It would be his last public appearance. That night, before an audience of party faithful, hardline Premier Li Peng showed the way forward. We must end the situation immediately. Otherwise, the future of the People's Republic will be in grave danger. He completed his address with a declaration of martial law. Troops would occupy the city and put an end to the protests in Tiananmen Square. Never before in the 40-year history of communist rule had China put its citizens and its army in this situation.
It was a massive display of force, 300,000 troops by most counts, countless tanks, APCs, the lot, all converging on the city from every quarter.
Beijing's response came as a complete surprise, both to the army and to the government.
The people just flooded out, and physically, with their sheer numbers, simply blocked the road.
Flood tactics, flooding them with people so they couldn't move. The army at that point wasn't willing to run over people and shoot people, to their credit.
The scene that greeted my eyes was just unbelievable. I could see for about a mile in the distance endless serried ranks of transport trucks, completely surrounded by tens of thousands of people. Young women, middle-aged housewives, elderly, retired workers said, "You're not coming in. Sorry, this is our city. There's no chaos. Leave us alone."
So there are 3 or 4 major military convoys in the suburbs of Beijing that can't go forward to Tiananmen Square. They also can't withdraw. They had them fixed there and imposed on them a 24, 48-hour street seminar to explain to them why they shouldn't be doing what they're doing.
And I witnessed a mother with an infant talk face to face with the soldiers in the truck, telling him it was a very peaceful city, and what we did was to just ask for more freedom for the people.
So you had these wonderfully touching moments of the people appealing to the army to join them and feeding them and giving them water and saying, it could be your son, it could be your daughter.
The citizens were also quite clever. They brought their children and asked them to say to the soldiers, "How are you, Uncle Soldier?" The soldiers were touched and they said, "We won't kill our people."
And these sort of doe-eyed, puzzled soldiers who were mostly country people, they weren't experienced with big city life, wondering what was going on here and not wanting to hurt anybody.
4 days after the attempted entry, the army withdrew to bases outside the city. Beijing was euphoric.
So that ended very well and was a great triumph. But it also was an enormous humiliation for the leadership. They had been thwarted and they had lost face, and they weren't going to let it happen again.
The party elders feared that the whole edifice of communism was going to collapse, like it was collapsing in the Soviet Union and in other parts of Eastern Europe. They needed to make a stand, and a bloody stand, to show their population, and in fact to cow their population back into submission.
Over the next 10 days, Supreme Leader Deng Xiaoping hatched a new plan. Troops armed with semi-automatic weapons and backed by tanks were drawn from military districts across China.
On the night of June 3rd, huge invasion force coming in again from all directions, but mostly from the west, this time with live ammunition. This time, strict orders: the square must be cleared by dawn on June 4th.
The instructions to the troops said, we don't want bloodshed, avoid bloodshed. But the other instruction to the troop, which was ironclad, was the square has to be cleared by 6 a.m. No bloodshed on the one hand, have to clear the square on the other. Here's your tanks, here's your ammunition. And so I think the soldiers were caught in a dilemma.